She doesn't fall for your looks, your money, or your charm. She falls for the man who sees the fire in her soul, the dreams in her heart, and tells her, I believe in you. When you admire her drive, you're not just complimenting her, you're unlocking a part of her that she protects from the world. Let's talk about something that most men get wrong, but when done right, it melts her walls and touches something deep inside her. Compliments, not the cheap ones, not the rehearsed ones. I'm talking about the compliments that go beyond the surface. The kind that speaks to her soul and makes her feel like you see her, the real her. Because here's the truth. A woman doesn't fall in love with your words. She falls in love with how your words make her feel. And here's a thing you must never forget. Women don't fall for grand gestures alone. They fall for consistency, presence, and words that reflect true perception. The right compliment, spoken with sincerity, can unlock a woman's heart in ways you can't imagine. But only if it's real, only if it's intentional, and only if it's spoken by a man who truly sees her. Want her to fall for you? See her, and tell her what you see. Let's talk about something that most men get wrong, but when done right, it melts her walls and touches something deep inside her. Compliments. Not the cheap ones, not the rehearsed ones. I'm talking about the compliments that go beyond the surface. The kind that speaks to her soul and makes her feel like you see her, the real her. Because here's the truth. A woman doesn't fall in love with your words. She falls in love with how your words make her feel. And when you give a compliment that makes her feel understood, seen, safe, or appreciated in ways that others overlook, you step into a part of her mind and heart that most men never reach. She may smile when someone tells her she's pretty, but her heart lights up when someone tells her she's powerful. She may thank someone for saying she looks nice, but she remembers the man who said he loves how her mind works because that man paid attention. That man wasn't looking for something in return. He was simply telling her a truth that maybe she'd been waiting her whole life to hear. And that is rare. That kind of compliment doesn't just build attraction, it builds emotional intimacy. Emotional intimacy is the very thing that creates the kind of bond that makes a woman want to open up, invest, and lean in. See, when you give her a compliment that speaks to who she is, not just what she looks like, you stand out. Most men chase validation through compliments, but the few who give validation, the kind that comes from really seeing her, those are the ones who live in her mind rent-free. A woman remembers what made her feel beautiful, not just on the outside, but on the inside. She remembers who reminded her that she was more than a body, more than a role, more than someone who's just nice to look at. And when you remind her of that, you're not just being kind, you're making a connection. There's a softness that comes over a woman when she feels seen. It's subtle. Her voice changes. Her eyes linger a little longer. She laughs a little more freely, and she begins to relax in your presence. That's when she starts to feel. That's when the guard comes down because you made her feel safe without asking her to be. You didn't need her to do anything. You didn't compliment her because you wanted something. You did it because it was true. And that truth has power. Because when a compliment is rooted in presence, when it's rooted in observation, when it's rooted in respect, it doesn't fade with time. It stays with her. It echoes. She thinks about it when she's alone. She replays it in her mind and wonders how you noticed what others missed. And little by little, she associates you with clarity, with warmth, with trust. That's how emotional attraction begins. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's slow, gentle, intentional. That's what compliments should be. Not lines, not tactics, just moments of truth. You want her to fall. Speak to the part of her that the world overlooks. Compliment the fire in her belly, the calm in her spirit, the light in her laughter. Tell her the things she suspects about herself but is still afraid to fully believe. And do it without expectation, do it without performance, do it with presence. That's what makes her heart turn toward you without even realizing it. That's what makes you unforgettable. Not your car, not your clothes, not your charm. Your ability to see her in a world where most people just look. That's what opens her. That's what pulls her closer. That's what makes her fall. You're not just saying she's smart. You're saying you notice the way she thinks, how she processes the world around her, how she takes in information and creates something new with it. You're showing her that her intelligence isn't intimidating, it's captivating. And for a lot of women, this kind of compliment lands deeply because so often their minds are overlooked. People see the hair, the skin, the curves, but few take the time to truly notice how her thoughts flow. When you say you love how her mind works, you're giving her the space to be fully intellectual, without apology. You're saying you respect her insight, her point of view, her opinions, and more than that, you enjoy them. That's a rare space for a woman to be in, because it means she doesn't have to shrink her ideas to fit into a conversation. She doesn't have to filter her intelligence to protect your ego. She doesn't have to prove herself just to be heard. With you, she gets to be fully expressed. And when a woman feels that kind of freedom, her attraction deepens. Because she starts to see you not just as someone who listens, but someone who truly understands, someone who finds beauty in her thoughts, not just her appearance. There's something incredibly intimate about a man who listens closely, not just waiting for his turn to talk, but actually absorbing what she's saying. A man who remembers the details, who asks follow-up questions, who reflects her thoughts back to her in a way that makes her feel seen. When you love how her mind works, you're not just giving her a compliment. You're stepping into a deeper level of connection, and that connection builds trust. She starts to feel like she can tell you things she doesn't tell anyone else. Not because you pried it out of her, but because you created the kind of space where her thoughts are honored, where her words matter. That's not just attractive, it's addictive, because in a world that's constantly asking women to be less, you're giving her permission to be more thoughtful, more curious, more expressive, and that brings out a side of her that maybe even she forgot existed. She starts to think differently around you. She challenges herself more. She opens up. And when she opens up intellectually, emotional intimacy naturally follows. That's the path to something real. That's how trust turns into desire. Because the truth is, a woman's mind is where everything begins. Her feelings, her imagination, her passion. When you compliment that part of her, you're lighting a fire that reaches far beyond the physical. You're telling her that you're not just here for the surface level version of her. You want to explore her depths. And the more she trusts you with those depths, the more she wants to give to you. Not just attention, not just affection, but access. Access to the version of her that's layered, thoughtful, and often hidden. That access is a privilege, and the moment she feels like you've earned it, not because you demanded it, but because you respected it, is the moment she begins to fall. Not because you told her what she wanted to hear, but because you told her what no one else even thought to say. That you love how her mind works, that you find her intellect not just admirable, but alluring. That being in conversation with her is one of your favorite places to be. That she's more than eye candy, she's mind candy. And that kind of woman doesn't forget the man who made her feel like her thoughts were treasure, ChatGPT said. This is one of the most unexpected compliments, and yet it touches something deep within her that few people even notice. When you tell a woman that she makes you feel calm, that being around her gives you peace, you're speaking to a part of her that longs to be more than just admired. She wants to be felt. She wants to know that her presence has an effect on the world around her, especially on the man who says he sees her. In a life full of noise, tension, and pressure, peace is a rare and sacred thing. So when you look into her eyes and tell her that she brings calm into your life, you're not just giving her a compliment, you're giving her significance. You're telling her that who she is, just by existing, just by being around you, shifts the emotional atmosphere. And that is one of the most profound acknowledgments you can give. She may not even realize the effect she has. She may think she's just being kind, just showing up, just doing what she does naturally. But when you name it, when you bring it to light, you anchor that experience in her mind. Suddenly, she's aware that you notice what others miss, that you feel something when she's around. Not chaos, not pressure, not demand, but a gentle kind of stillness that makes you breathe easier, think clearer, and feel more grounded. That kind of recognition creates emotional safety, not just for you, but for her. Because women are often told to be more, do more, prove more. But when a man tells her that her being is enough, that her presence carries value without effort, that's when she begins to relax into who she truly is. She doesn't feel like she has to perform. She doesn't feel like she needs to impress you. She just knows that being with you allows her to bring peace, and that peace is seen, felt, and cherished. And when a woman feels that kind of appreciation, it builds a connection rooted in trust. She starts to associate you with emotional depth. You become the man who doesn't just see what she does, but feels who she is. And there's something incredibly intimate about that, because most men are chasing stimulation. But you're recognizing serenity. You're saying, in a world full of noise, your silence is my comfort. Your presence is my safe place. That touches her heart in a way no flashy words ever could. It's not about putting her on a pedestal. It's not about exaggerating. It's about showing her that her energy matters, that you feel something shift when she enters a room, that her softness, her vibe, her stillness, all of it reaches you. And when you express that, you invite her to give you more of it. You invite her to trust that her natural feminine essence is not just welcomed, but honored. That she doesn't have to be loud to be heard. That she doesn't have to be perfect to be appreciated. That simply being herself brings you peace, and that peace is everything to you. She starts to see herself through your eyes. And when your eyes reflect calm, acceptance, and gratitude, she begins to open in ways she never has before. Because now she knows she's not just admired for what she gives or how she looks. She's appreciated for what she brings that no one else does. A quiet, healing presence that makes everything feel better, that makes you breathe easier, that makes your shoulders drop, that makes you remember who you are when life tries to make you forget. And when a woman realizes that she gives a man that feeling, she never forgets him, because in that moment, she sees the impact of her energy, and in seeing that, she begins to feel deeply connected to the one who saw it first. This compliment speaks to a woman's identity in a way that most men overlook. When you tell her you admire how driven she is, you're not just pointing out that she works hard. You're acknowledging the fire that burns inside her, the purpose she's chasing, the hours no one sees when she's pushing herself to grow. Most people only acknowledge the results, the degree, the promotion, the title, the money. But you're choosing to see the person behind the success, The woman who wakes up every morning with a hunger to become more. The one who refuses to settle even when it would be easier to quit. That recognition doesn't just boost her confidence. It makes her feel seen in the deepest sense. Because drive isn't just about ambition. It's about resilience. It's about sacrifice. It's about doing the hard things when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when no one even believes. So when you tell her you admire how driven she is, you're telling her you respect her story. The late nights, the early mornings, the setbacks, the failures, the moments of doubt. You're telling her that what she's building matters, that who she's becoming is inspiring. And in that moment, she doesn't just feel complimented, she feels honored. That kind of compliment creates connection because you're speaking to the part of her that matters most. The part that isn't about beauty or charm or social media highlights, but about her values, her work ethic, her desire to become her best self. You're saying, I see your process and I love it. That's powerful. Especially in a world where women are so often praised for how they look and not enough for what they do. This compliment breaks that pattern. It brings balance. It says, I love your drive just as much as I love your smile. It shows that your attraction isn't shallow. It's rooted in something real. It also tells her that you're a man who understands partnership. Because when you admire her ambition, it shows that you're not threatened by her success. You don't need to dim her light to shine your own. Instead, you want to grow with her, support her, build alongside her. That makes her feel safe to be herself, to dream bigger, to share her goals, to invite you into her vision. And when she sees that you're not intimidated by her strength, she starts to lean into her softness around you, because now she knows she doesn't have to choose. She doesn't have to shrink her ambition to be loved. She doesn't have to hide her fire to be accepted. With you, she gets to be both powerful and vulnerable, strong and feminine, focused and open. And that balance is what creates emotional intimacy. She starts to share more. She starts to trust you with her fears, her goals, her wins, and her losses. Because she knows you won't just listen. You'll understand. You'll respect her hustle. You'll see the beauty in her effort. You'll cheer her on without needing to compete. That kind of connection goes beyond chemistry. It's rooted in mutual respect. And respect is what keeps passion alive long after the butterflies fade. When a woman feels respected by a man, she relaxes, she glows, she starts to show parts of herself that she usually guards. She starts to believe that maybe, just maybe, she doesn't have to do it all alone. That maybe she's found someone who gets it, who gets her, who's not just impressed by what she's achieved, but inspired by who she's becoming. That makes her feel chosen, not for what she can give, but for who she already is deep inside. So if you truly want to win her heart, don't just admire her beauty, recognize her strength, her vision, her unstoppable drive. Let her know that who she is means more than what she does. When a woman feels seen for her ambition and supported in her journey, that's when she doesn't just like you, she trusts you, she respects you, and she starts to fall for you in a way that goes far deeper than words ever could.